it comes to the point that is not philosophy, is not science of understanding the creation, but science of understanding ourselves. Science of being able to work and become more aware of our own structure. In the past weeks, I start talking about one of the most fundamental elements in the world of the creation. One of the most important elements of creation in the line of communication and transportation for man will be and is carbon-14. Under the atmospheric pressures of this planet does not exist in the structure of the life of the man works immensely. But in so many ways, man not having the understanding of knowledge, man has taken it as part of continuous misunderstanding of the knowledge of creation. And in so many ways, because of the characteristics of the structure, man lives by this miscomprehension. And in the process of the science of life, always makes a mistake between this matter and what we call, oh, something happened here. We have made a lot of mistakes in the structure of the totality. What does this mean? Is that carbon-14 in a structure, matter state, will show itself in majority of cases in the body of the man and in the work of the plants as nitrogen. But in reality, the dynamic structure of the work of the universe, which is similar as a macro in macro, the work of communication line of the body of the man, it structures itself into line of transfer of energy and line of separation of energy. It's very much like a plastic or wax shielding on a process between the lines of the emotion of the man. It plays a very specific characteristics because it behaves very much like insulation. It's very much like a diamond structure, very much what we call graphene, but in a dynamic plasmatic form. And this is what we need to understand. to be able to structure the life of the man and understand the whole process of creation in the process of understanding of the work of the physicality. There is a line of work which a lot of scientists have overlooked, and a lot of misunderstanding in it has brought us a lot of problems to be able to bring the dimension of the physicality into operation of the soul of the man, soul of the physicality, separation of the understanding of the line of communication. And this process will take time to understand in full. But what is important for us is how we have seen the structure of the physicality of the man. And have we understood the separation of the line in the structure? And how everything in that structure comes to be part of the total energy balance of the soul of the man, the physicality of the man, the existence of the man, and to what extent can we envisage to be able to go further. We got to look at the different structure. We got to look at the real structure. We got to understand the totality of the physical structure of the man. And something which comes up and pops up very, very nicely. But as I said, in the world of science, in the world of chemistry, in the world of biology, we have brought this misunderstanding, which now, as I said, we have to correct. And then it becomes a path, it becomes a beginning in understanding how and the way things are brought together, things are processed together, things are put together in the physical structure of the man through the connection of the body of the man with his physicality, with his soul. In so many ways, we got to go back to the basic and make some small corrections or add to the knowledge to be able to go to the next step. If we look and understand how, in which steps mankind has taken a step and has gone through the process of creation, a lot of mysteries about the life of the man, operation of the life of the man, the soul of the man, operation of the soul of the man, operation of physicality of the man, all can be understood. All can be taken to the next step, all can be added or can be understood to be added. What does this mean? One of the fundamental problems in the whole cycle of the understanding of the physiology of the man is the construction of the physicality of the man, and how everything has been based on one or two elements But man has calculated everything else but these one or two elements. This is very much like we have missed half of the equation. We have missed half of the knowledge. We have missed part of it which was really there and we didn't see. Or we never understood that this is part of totality. This is part of we've been missing. This is, in essence, part which will bring us, forces us. We have no choice but to understand it, to be able to continue with it, to be able to extract from it the real knowledge. And in so many ways, this carbon-14 as the energy of the plasma, as energy of the fields of the plasma, has never been understood in clarity. And man has made, because of his presence, a lot of mistakes in the structure of the amino acid of the body of the man. It causes cancers and it cures cancers. It creates the destruction of the connection layers of the brain of the man. Leads to your age, your stroke, leads to understanding of the total work. It affects every operation of the physicality of the man. It affects every operation of the soul of the man. It affects every connection between the soul of the man and soul of the physicality. And most of the time, the world of science has never considered, never understood that what this means. What can be created, what can be given, what can be added, what can be amalgamated from understanding of the work of the carbon-14. One of the problems of it is that the scientific world has not managed to produce it the way it works in the body of the man in a, what we call as a Ganz condition, as a plasmatic condition. It has a sequence. It repeats itself in different combination, and because of its dynamism and is what you call separation of the physicality from the neural system, man have always ignored it. If you look in the dimension of the work of nitrogen, we look to the work of carbon-14, and we look into operation of like CH3, it has, and it should have given us a lot of clues. We should have understood a lot of clues. I spent a lot of time today in trying to explain the work of carbon-14 because it's something, it's so fundamental that it needs a time to be spent on it, because now you will understand the work of the transmutation. How transmutation becomes possible. It comes the work of transportation across the universe. It comes from the point of insulation and isolation of the fields of the universe. Somebody's microphone is open. It comes to understanding the totality and the relationship between different parts and structure of the physicality and the soul of the man. And in so many ways is the pathway of the soul of the man to connect with the universal community in the path of the line of communication. When we spoke about the carbon in CO2, when we use it for conductivity and connection in our medical applications or in other fields, carbon-14 is the same, but in the dimension with the connection with the soul of the man and physicality of the man. Is the pathway, the way, the as we call it, the wire, the string, where the soul of the man leaves the physicality of the man. Is the connection where you go what you call a dream time, but it knows where to connect to, happens through that. It has a fingerprint of the interaction of the soul. It has a fingerprint of the interaction of the universe. And in so many different ways, we have to understand the work of carbon-14. Carbon at all, altogether. What is a carbon-14? Rick, can you pull up on the Wikipedia or a wiki, what is carbon-14 in the matter state? Can you get it?
Yes, sure. Just a minute, Mr. Keshe.
What is interesting, you got to understand, we look at carbon-14 in a plasmatic state, not in a matter state. But in so many ways, if we look at a carbon-14 in partially in the world of the science, present science, they call it graphene. It behaves that way in some occasions because it looks as to be the end and at the same time is the beginning of every nerve. One end of the neural system where your nerves stop is the orientation of the carbon-14, which creates the feedback. It's carbon-14 which gives you the isolation at the point of amputation and the release of energy as what you call it, phantom pain. And it's part of the whole structure of our existence in real life. Would you like to read it for us?
Sure. Okay. Get my microphone open. Joe, just a second.
Is the fire alarm gone off? Whoa. Are you back? Okay, I'll read it. It says carbon-14, radiocarbon, is a radioactive isolate of carbon with an atomic nucleus containing 6 protons and 8 neutrons. Its presence is organic material. Organic material is the basis of the radiocarbon dating method. pioneered by William Levy and colleague. To date, archaeological, geological, and hydrogeological something. Somebody is on my screen, or is it you playing with the background?
I was going to make it larger if you
Okay,
want to
carry
read
on.
it there, or I could read it if you
Okay,
like.
no, it's okay. Carry
Okay.
on reading, because we have to understand this. Carry on.
You want me to read then? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I read it. I read it
Yep,
up to the
yep,
first
you
bracket,
got up to here.
1949. Yeah.
Yep. So, okay. So carbon-14 was discovered on February 27th, 1940 by Martin Kamen and Sam Rubin at the University of California Radiation Laboratory in Berkeley, California. Its existence had been suggested by Franz Curie in 1934. It goes on to say there are 3 naturally occurring isotopes of carbon on Earth. Carbon-12, which makes up 99% of all carbon on Earth, carbon-13, which makes up 1%, and carbon-14, which occurs in trace amounts, making up about 1 or 1.5 atoms per 10 to the 12th atoms of carbon in the atmosphere. Carbon-12 and carbon-13 are both stable, while carbon-14 is unstable and has a half-life of 5,730 years plus or minus 40 years. Carbon-14 decays into nitrogen-14 through beta decay. A gram of carbon containing 1 atom of carbon-14 per 10 to the 12th atoms will emit about 0.2 beta particles per second. The primary natural source of carbon-14 on Earth is cosmic ray action on nitrogen in the atmosphere, and is therefore a cosmogenic nuclide. However, open-air nuclear testing between 1955 and 1980 contributed to this pool. The different isotopes of carbon do not differ appreciably in their chemical properties. This resemblance is used in chemical and biological research in a technique called carbon labeling. Carbon-14 atoms can be used to replace non-radioactive carbon in order to trace chemical and biochemical reactions involving carbon atoms from any given organic compound. Do you want me to continue?
Can you repeat that last sentence?
Okay. I'll say the whole paragraph. It might make more sense.
Okay.
The different isotopes of carbon do not differ appreciably in their chemical properties. This resemblance is used in chemical and biological research in a technique called carbon labeling. Carbon-14 atoms can be used to replace non-radioactive carbon in order to trace chemical and biochemical reactions involving carbon atoms from any given organic compound.
And if you go back to the first line of the top paragraph.
Oops, just a minute.
Just go up. It says carbon-14 is a radioactive isotope of carbon. And then it says at the bottom, carbon-14 can be used to replace non-radioactive carbon in order to trace chemical, biological reaction involving carbon atom for any organic compound. And when you read it, it says it decays to nitrogen. But all this is in a matter state. In the condition of the plasma body of the man, and in the dimension of the universe, What does radioactive means? Means energetic. And the energetic dimension of this carbon-14 is absolutely amazing because it's not being a beta decay, it's being a dynamic plasmatic field which is continuously travels beyond the speed of light on the matter state. The reason for it, which has never understood, or now maybe it can be explained, is neutrons are the source of the energy because they want to decay to create stability. They split into a proton and a neutron, electron, to create stable condition for themselves. But in the case of the carbon-14, you have two neutrons at the same time busy releasing, and in that process to do dynamic point centers trying to balance or create a balance in their field interaction, create a line of insulation, a line of magnetic field which does not accept anymore because at the moment it has circled itself. In the term of magnetic insulation and isolation, when you have a double neutron base like this, it means that the matter state of it is within itself. It isolates itself. It has a huge amount of energy to release. And that gives a very high dynamic center to its carbon structure, the other six protons and neutrons. And it literally, it catapults this material. A normal carbon does not behave like this. A radioactive material, which means has a huge amount of energy, in a plasmatic condition has a huge, huge amount of energy, which in balance with having no electron to feed off to split into, that it can create a balance of itself to become an atom. It creates what I call super bullet out of carbon-14. And that allows the man to travel the depth of space as a fuel, if you can replicate it. It teaches a lot to those of us who wants to understand, because of this higher speed, it creates a line of transportation for the field matter states of it. Carbon-14 is a plasmatic radioactive, not matter state radioactive, if we can call it that way. It's a source of energy which is so much, it's like a virus sit around the nucleus of the carbon. And because of that amount of energy it gives to it, it just makes a fireball out of the others. It's a free engine. It's a free energy resource for the structure. And when you enter in the dimension of the matter state, a lot of doctors make a mistake between it and nitrogen. Is the cause of many cancers, but it can be understood due to its weight compared to the other carbon. It leads to the combination of matter state interactions. It's a massive ball of fire, and this fire does not stop, because energy released by one neutron to go through what we call splitting what to become nuclear decay is automatically absorbed by the other neutron. And in that process, in the dynamic magnetic field, part of the energy in being given to other protons and neutrons, they become active too. And in so many ways, if you understand, aging by what we call carbon-14 dating should give you a very clear understanding is the time when you stop the whole process. Then you can trace it when and how it was stopped by itself, or in the process went through a condition has stopped because of lack of transfer of energy. Interesting enough, if we go to the next step and understand that you have a carbon and you have a, in a way, a tritium. Two cells working together. Two cells working in a way as a helium, or in a way as a tritium, and sometimes due to their energy balance, they behave as just two neutrons. What is this will give is the extension in how to understand we age, how fast we age, and why when we use the Gans-Planck technology on the cell of the man, we see huge changes. Because we interfere with line of field transfer energy. This is why our CH3 Gans shows a lot of characteristics of carbon-14. And if we understand it, we can fully utilize it. When we take measurements on the decay or whatever, we always make a mistake in conversion of the energy of carbon-14 with nitrogen. It's so common that because of it we have missed many parts of the whole structure of the understanding of the work of the body of the man. What I would like to do, I would like to take you to a step to understand this process. I need a whiteboard. Rick, would you like to write in my place, because I cannot, I lost my screen again.
Okay, we do see your whiteboard right now, but
yeah, but I don't have my screen pad. It's okay, I write, no problem. When you have a hydrogen, if you look, it's not an atom in a way, it's a half atom because it doesn't carry any neutrons. It's the lack of neutron in it. The next step here is nitrogen. or if you can put it, carbon 14. Very interesting how I cannot use my system. Then you understand the process 0 to 14. Now the next 14 comes here. Again carbon 14, but it shows itself as silica. In that process of I've got a problem in writing this down. The next 14, carbon 14, is silica. You understand? You see it there. Another 14. One of the main components life of the man. When you take this to another step, (28), 14. And another 14. It's dynamic. 42. Can somebody tell us what's this 14? In transition of the strength of the magnetic field, is Mr. Cohen. Now I appreciate what a beautiful thing I had as a pen. If you look at this again, what does it take us to? Where does it take this to? You come to something very easy.
56.
Yes, I know, I just don't have my screen. Hi Arman, how are you, darling?
Good.
Good, that's good. Now you see how carbon 14 has been the backbone, and different combination of it. Here is 56. The next one is 70. And then look what 70 does, which element sits with you at 70. But you have to remember something very strange. Here, we don't see usually as such what takes place as another element we know with number 42. Then you understand how much our scientists of the past have forgotten and have not seen, because they never considered a dynamic structure that none of it, one of it, two of it, three of it, four of it has created the cycle of life on this planet for mankind. And look at the half balanced lines. And then you see how life of the man has gradually taken shape on this planet. This raises a fantastic question, and that is very, very simply, very, very simple. Would the body of the man, working on a carbon-14 will suit to travel the depth of the universe on the lines of the carbon-14 magnetic field of the universe? It is absolutely a perfect match. And if you look at this zone, you look at this zone, and then you look at every other zone with carbon-12, then you understand how the soul of the man and the physicality of the man, the soul of the man continuously repeat themselves. And that's how we dream. And this is how the two are so close to each other that we have lost sight of our soul. Line of communication of our soul, where through the physicality we communicate energy transfer through carbon-12. But the work of the universe through transfer of the soul is carbon-14. And we live through carbon-12. Our soul lives in the line of communication of carbon-14. And this is how we will travel the space of the universe. Then you understand how easy it should be for mankind to become travelers of the universe. Every indication on the transfer of gravitational magnetic field of the space of the speed of the universe sits within the structure of the amino acid and physicality of the man in a dimension of magnetic fields. You're a perfect match. Now, does the man understand that much? That in checking the physical dimensions in matter state, sees silicon, nitrogen, amino acid and iron? Or is it in reality multiple combination of carbon-14? Then it comes to us a new dimension. in the line of communication for control of the space reactors, understanding the creation of the soul and the dimension of the emotion of the man in the line of physicality and the soul of the man. To understand how to travel, how to nourish, how to multiply in the depth of the universe, or anywhere in the universe. I warned the knowledge seekers yesterday in the teaching, in the private teaching, what was coming. Those of you who work on a dimension of any transfer, transportation, in the dimension of the structural conductivity of the physicality of the man or the soul of the man, now you have found a very big answer. If you look, when you look at the Alex Beats macro systems, you use CO2 for communication line for diabetic and everything else. Now you can add the dimension of the transportation of the soul to it. Now man has two choices. Do I want to travel in the dimension of the flow of a carbon, or do I want to travel in the dimension of super speed of the soul? Can I use the plasmatic magnetic field of CH3, which I can produce so easy, to become the giver of energy as carbon-14? Is there a shortcut to it? Or does actually sugar behave like carbon-14 in superconductivity of the energy of one hydrogen atom? Is this why the body of the man evolved so fast on this planet? Because the presence of the basic sugar, which gives you a carbon-14, which itself already very active, has an additional way to release the energy of to become energy, source of energy. Or is the additional electron or additional neutron or additional proton, depends how you define it, becomes a point that due to interaction of the two neutrons in carbon-14 in a physical collision with the additional proton lead to release of energy that man needs to create and dynamism in the amino acid, and becomes a source of energy. In a way, we introduce a barrier. When the bullet comes, let's absorb the energy of, and that energy without bullet, the bullet released continuously is by the double protons or neutrons, as you have an energy conformation in the plasma condition, which with the interaction of the lighter one 2 to 1, that is 2 protons conforming with the electron as a neutron in the CH3, with a third one, is like putting a barrier or creating in a plasmatic film force, very much like you create a motion. This is your 2 hydrogens and this is your single hydrogen. And in that process, where you already have a carbon here, you create a release of energy to the amino acid which is bounded to it. And this amino acid becomes active. It receives energy. It can survive. So if we can increase the binding of CH3 or a carbon-14 in the presence of the body of the man, which creates a continuous supply into the amino acid, which means the amino acid does not need continuously to deplete and then replete it, gives a life of centuries to man. Because there is no damage. There is no continuous depletion refilling it. This is how you can extend life on this planet. Simple understanding of the transfer of the fields of the universe can make a lot of difference for man if the man understands what is going on.
Excuse me, Mr. Keshe, could we get you to just move your microphone away from your mouth a tiny bit, not too much? Thank you.
No, better.
I believe so. Go ahead.
Yes, is it okay?
Sure. Yep.
So now you understand how we can even extend the life of the man through understanding the operation of the carbon-14, and how we can use this operation of carbon-14 to create the fast dynamic motion of the protein or the body of the man in the mission of the soul of the transportation. Now, the science of physiology and the science of the soul of the man is that now we can understand much more. Now we can act upon it. We can operate through it. We can extend the life with it. And then we do not depend on a cycle of the rotation of one thing we called the day, the year, or anything else which mankind has chosen to call this thing. Now, which side of the story do you want me to sing for you? Have the scientists been right to measure the decay of life of anything on a carbon-14, or did they miss the boat? Or can we use the operation of carbon-14 to create a new dimension for life of the man in space? Remember last week when I spoke about the separation of the gaps between the galaxies, I spoke about the carbon-14. I start putting things out for you to see what you understand till the next time, till the next teaching, till the next time, might be next time or the time after or the time after. But the teaching now starts getting meaning, it starts having understanding. Because if you can create a condition of transfer of the energy in the level of carbon-14, you can tap into the universal transportation line, you can tap into the understanding, creating life for the others who are the passengers of this line to manifest themselves in the portal of life you create. All you do, you create a new bus stop. Would anybody would like to take off here of the thing? I have created a condition which I can create that replication. If you want to understand, maybe we can explain, is the superconductivity within the conductivity of the plasma itself. Now you can imagine what the scientists were telling us, superconductive materials. Not only now you have the superconductive materials in the form of the nano layering, now you have superconductive path to transport that. Now that you understand, the body of the man is made of gases. Starts adding up. But do you want to invite everyone in, or do you want to have a specific length or a specific people? You don't want to invite the cousins, but you would like the uncles to come. And you don't know if the uncle will be dressed in the suit or will come with pajamas. How do you manifest that only the uncle turns up and no cousins, only the cousins come, you don't want the uncles? Go back to your teaching. Go back to understanding. Go back to understanding of the interaction of the fields of the gravitational field with inertia, which leads to creation of manifestation of the material or matter state. Then you understand. Then you understand you can create the condition of the conformation of existence by introduction of the third strength in the carbon-14, and any passenger of universe which matches into that will manifest in your portal. It's very much when you create a matter state with the attraction of the fields of your cores, it's you who by introduction of the inertia dictates what matter from the energy of the atmosphere will manifest itself. In the case of liquid and iron, we manifested, we produced blood, hemoglobin. In the case of interaction of the fields, we created gold, zinc, magnesium, and the other one, which we see in the test results as was done, independent to confirm what is collected. Now understanding the transfer and transportation and the connection between the soul of the man, which now becomes the language of the universal community, in understanding of his transportation line, now you can invite friends home. And then you dictate what friends and whose friends. I don't want this. I want to see what it gives me as such and such a strength in the spectrum of the magnesium with the carbon 14, and see which creatures of God come up, appear, like the way inertia lead to creation and manifestation of the energy of the universe in the gold or copper. Now we have learned how to manifest our guests. But you can use the same process to become part of, to join into the link of the superhighway of the universe, till your cousin or your son on planet Zeus has created condition of the amino acid the strength of your carbon 14, which leads you to land there with them. Now you understand. Because in that dimension you travel through the communication line of high speed to what we call the soul speed of the man. Because it's still is combination of amino acid, but still is dynamic that it can link into. Now it's getting tricky, doesn't it? Very, very tricky. Those of you who understood, those of you who maybe understand in the future, have already understood, and you have already entered to produce the portals. But be careful what you do. What did your mother say when you were young and you went on the street? Do not speak with the strangers. And do not every time go out, come back home with a cat and a dog. How many of you had that? Mom is the last cat I ever bring, I promise you that. Now we open you the portals. Who's gonna turn up? And how good you have made the confirmation and process of the soul level which you have invited.